This is John for Global Traveler. This afternoon, I had the pleasure of talking travel with Thor Pedersen, the first man, the first person to go to every country without a plane. I got to hear all about this, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm great. My Cubs won their first playoff game. I'm looking forward to the rest, but we didn't come here to talk
Fantastic.
baseball yet. So give me a brief background of you before you started to do your major trip.
Sure. I was born in 78. My mother is from Finland. My father's from Denmark. I was born in Denmark, and we quickly moved to North America. We spent 4 years in Canada and then 2.5 years in the US, around New Jersey in the US. And then when I was almost 7, we came back to Denmark, and then I had a pretty normal upbringing. And I did my military service in Denmark, which I followed up with the United Nations. I did business school, and I found my way into shipping and logistics, which I did for 12 years. And in 2013, I found out no one had gone to every country in the world completely without flying. And I set myself the goal to become that person.
So what made you want to do that? I mean, I knew that nobody had done it either, but I certainly had no idea to do it myself.
It's it's a good question. I suppose a lot of it is through my upbringing. I would have to credit my mother for sure with instilling a lot of curiosity and imagination within me and telling me about Robin Hood and and the Jungle Book and Treasure Island and I had a lust for adventure, small small adventure as a kid and grew up and started to learn that there was a thing that was real adventure, that it existed, and read about these amazing explorers that had done these most incredible things of discovery, the first to go around the globe or go on top of the highest mountains and into the deepest forests and all this stuff. And I slowly realized that I was born too late, that all this stuff had been done long before I was born. And I figured that I was a copy of a copy of a copy. Everything I said, everything I did would have been something that had been said or done before. And then in 2013, I stumbled across this that people had been to every country in the world, but no one had managed to pull it off completely without flying. And I couldn't let it go. I felt like this was my opportunity. This is where I could rank amongst some of these amazing explorers but yeah, so I was really driven by that in the early months and maybe the first year, and then I start to realize maybe it's not so important that anyone goes to every country in the world without flying, and yeah, so I had to find motivation elsewhere.
So you're motivated originally by wanting to be the first and all that, but there had to be a love of travel at some level for you to attempt to do this. Yes.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So I was fortunate within my shipping and logistics career, I got to work in at exotic locations. I was 2 years in Libya during Gaddafi times. I was working in Bangladesh for a full year. I worked in Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, and Greenland within the Arctic Circle. For a short while, I was working in Florida in the US. I worked various places across Europe. And by the time I was 34, I had been to 50 countries. So
Ooh,
some of it was work and some of it was a holiday and family trips when I was a kid. So I'd seen a lot and I was hungry for more.
okay. How long did it take you to plan this trip? Now, let me stop for 1 second. This wasn't any ordinary trip. If I read correctly, you had a plan of not using any vehicles and not and having a budget of $20 a day.
One of those is correct.
Okay.
I did use vehicles. I went with public transportation wherever possible. So that's buses, trains, shared taxis, ferries, and then over the years, in order to get to Pacific Island nations, I was able to hitch rides on board container ships, which are scheduled transportation. So there were generally three main rules. One was I couldn't fly for any reason whatsoever. If I flew just once, then I could start all over, then the project would be over.
Wow.
Another rule was that it had to be a minimum of 24 hours in each nation, and less than 24 hours, I wouldn't be able to count it as a visit. And then the third rule was I couldn't return home until I reached the final country. Or, of course, if I quit the project, this was my own doing.
Well, that wasn't going to
But
happen.
yeah. And then you have these other like not really cardinal rules, but there was, like you say, the $20 per day, and I tried to stick to that, and it panned out. It was pretty much on the money, $20 per day, when I came back home. But only because people were very generous along the way. I got to stay in people's homes. I got lots of free meals and a ride now and again. People were very kind to me around the world. Another rule was that I would visit the Red Cross in every country I got to. I traveled as a goodwill ambassador of the Danish Red Cross. Another rule was that I wouldn't pay out any bribes anywhere. So I went through the entire world without ever doing that. And then another rule was I wasn't going to eat at McDonald's at any point. And I didn't do that.
Well, you certainly met all your goals. You were gone close to 10 years. It was like 3,570 some odd days, covering
Yeah.
223,000 miles. But you never went home. Obviously, you had to call home and contact home.
Yeah.
How did your family and friends react to you being gone that long?
Uh, well, initially, before I left, I had a conversation with my mother and with my father, who by long before then divorced each other. So it was two different locations, and I went to my father, who was very disappointed in the decision that I wanted to go to every country without flying. I think he felt it was some sort of a hippie thing, and I would be throwing my entire career away. No one would ever hire me again if I did a thing like that. So it took a lot of convincing and explaining that I would be traveling as a goodwill ambassador of the Red Cross, and this was a serious undertaking, and I wouldn't be sitting on beaches, smoking weed, playing guitar. And, like this was something else, and I won him over, and he quickly became one of my biggest supporters. He was very proud of me. My mother was a completely different case. We were walking down this quiet road, and she's pointing out apple trees and pear trees, and she's talking about there might have been an orchard. And I say, listen, I'm going to go away for maybe 4 years, every country in the world without flying. And she looks at me and she says, yeah, I also like to travel. And she continues talking about apple trees. Like, I was completely unfazed by what I
No
said to
big
her.
deal.
Nobody, except for one, there's one exception, but other than that, nobody ever asked me to come home to break it off. I think people were, my family, my friends, everyone was very, very supportive. They saw it was hard on me. One friend, a really, really good friend, during the pandemic when I was stuck in Hong Kong, he said, "You have to stop this. This is madness. Give it, put a deadline, like 6 months, and if nothing has happened within the next 6 months, or no matter how far you get within the next 6 months, then you go to the airport and you go home." And that weighed heavily on me. It's a really, really good friend. I had a girlfriend who became my fiance, who became my wife during all of this, and she never pushed me. She always let me know that she would prefer that I was back home and we would have a normal life, but she said she didn't want to stand between me and my dreams or my ambition. And she was very, very supportive and came out to visit 27 times along the
Wow.
way. Yeah,
Well, you said she was your girlfriend and fiance, then wife. She became your
yeah.
wife during this process?
She did. Yeah, we
Was it
married.
out there? Like where did that happen?
Well, we're actually married in Utah, in the in the good state of
Okay.
Utah. During the pandemic, I was down to my last 9 countries, and these were all island nations, with 7 of them being in the Pacific and 2 of them in the Indian Ocean. And the pandemic broke out, and I got stuck in Hong Kong, and nobody knew. Nobody knew if this was going to be weeks or months or years or whatever. So I hadn't seen my fiance for a year and a half because of the pandemic, and we were trying to work out how I could get her into Hong Kong, and that was only possible if we were married.
Oh,
It meant nothing to Hong Kong authorities that we were engaged, but married, that means something. And we found out there's an agency in Utah where you can get married online.
oh,
So we
nice.
got in touch with them, and she was in Copenhagen, Denmark, in the north of Europe, and I was in Hong Kong. And she got married on December 19th, which happens to be my birthday.
Oh,
She picked the
cool.
date, and I got married on the 20th due to
Oh,
the
wow.
time difference.
Wow.
Um,
Different
so
anniversaries.
then yeah, we got paperwork from Utah, which looked fantastic. It looked like something that had been shipped over a couple of 100 years ago
Oh,
from
that's
the old
cool.
country. And Hong Kong approved our marriage, and she flew into Hong Kong and was in quarantine for 3 weeks, hotel quarantine for 3 weeks, and then we had time together. So an online wedding was not accepted by my own country, Denmark. They said that's nonsense. You have to be in the same room. So we got married on a beach in the Pacific later on, in the island nation of Vanuatu. And that was with witnesses and cake and photos and everything.
Wow.
That was a wedding. And Denmark still did not approve of that when I got back home. So we got married at City Hall after I came back home. So, the woman said yes to me 4 times at the
That's a,
engagement and 3 weddings.
great story. That's a lot of anniversaries you got to remember, though.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't remember any of them. I kind of remember the 19th because it's December 19th is my birthday.
That
That
one's an
helps.
easy one. That's the good one. So how has travel, all this travel, how has it changed you?
Oh, well, obviously I aged, and I think a degree of maturity comes with age and wisdom and knowledge, and I think I might have received more of that than the average person because of the volume of difficulties I had along the way, and the volume of culture and people, history, and basically everything that I encountered along the way. I think, you can meet people that you say have an old soul. You might meet someone who's 25 years old, and you go like, "Oh, this 25-year-old is so wise beyond years," and you wonder how did that come to be. And then sometimes you meet someone who's 60, and you can't believe they've lived 60 years on this planet, given how unmature they are. So it seems to me that there might be a highway and a slow lane for life experience. And after I came home, I was reflecting on it, and I reasoned that, well, maybe when we're struggling in life, this is when we're on the highway. If you're going through a divorce, or you lose a job, or you lose someone you care dearly about, or anything in between, then you gain life experience really fast, really quickly. And, whenever you're out of your comfort zone, I think this is truly where you gain life experience. And you go to a foreign country, I mean, you don't know. You're sitting at a table, something crawls across the table. You don't know if it's harmful or not. You might not know how to get a SIM card or activate a SIM card. I mean, tons of stuff you don't know. So you're constantly, learning. You're running as
Sure.
fast as you possibly can. And I was doing that for the better part of a decade. So I think to answer your question, I think, I aged tremendously over those 10 years. But also, this was an education of a lifetime. It's the kind of thing that I would try to talk myself out of doing if I could go back in time,
Really?
but yeah, absolutely. It was often nightmarish. It was more work than anyone will ever be able to understand, and my life was at risk several times. Not a lot given the volume of countries and the amount of time, but still, like, why would you send yourself out on a journey where your life is at risk? Um, but it's a paradox because I wouldn't be the person I am today if I hadn't gone through all of that. I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have today. And I think that's pretty key. You know, as I said, this was an education, and I learned about people, people skills, and I learned about fundraising and culture and language and about food. And I was a picky eater when I left home in 2013. By the time I returned home, I'd been eating dogs and horses and insects of various sorts. And,
Wow. Jesus. Now, you've written a book. You are a
yeah.
speaker. You've done speaking engagements. So I will ask you this. How have you impacted travel? How have you changed travel, perhaps?
Well, actually a very interesting question. I don't know if I have. I mean, some people would say I'm an inspiration in what I did, and maybe they want to sort of travel a little bit in my codex. So that could have influenced some people. Uh, some people have reached out to me and said they want to do what I did, and I wish them good luck, and I'll try to support wherever I can. But it's been a couple of years since I came back home, and no one's come close. I think, you know, some people read my book and they say now they want to go and travel because of that. They want to go and see the world with their own eyes. So that's nice. Um, but you know, there's the butterfly effect. You know, with you know, what's that sentence? Is say that there's the flutter of a butterfly's wings on one side of the planet can cause
Yeah.
a typhoon on the other side of the planet. Well, so I spoke to people in every country in the world, and that might have left the world unchanged forever, you know, in a philosophical kind of way. That who knows if people they change their direction or their line of thought after meeting a stranger from from Denmark. So yeah, who knows what the
No, I
world
would
would
say
have been
undoubtedly
without.
you've had an impact. I mean, it might not be like a worldwide, everybody together saying this, but to individuals, I think you totally have done it. It's evident in the following you have. It's evident in the book sales you have, you know, and the speaking engagements. You wouldn't be getting these just because you know, are just because you went on a trip. You know, I think you've
No.
done a
Yeah.
lot for the travel industry.
Well, yeah, I like to think so. It's very kind of you to say so. Um, I enjoy doing the speaking engagements, and I think when I walk away, I've left people with an impression and given people something to think about, and you know, I think people have been entertained. The book is Thank goodness the book is well received. And it's a very honest book. It's quite raw. It's this one guy, he said it's surprisingly unfunny, and he said he said he meant that in a good way. And then he went on to say, you know, a lot of these travel books, it's some anecdote with a foreigner in a foreign land who does something that's culturally inappropriate, and everybody laughs, and then you have this funny story. But uh, but my story is about human strength, and it's about human kindness, and it's about going back and forth about giving up or not giving up in whatever you're looking to accomplish in your life. And there's a lot in my book, but I guess it's
No,
not very funny.
no, you know, that was the thing I was going to mention. To be honest, I have not read the entire thing. I started it. The Impossible Journey is your book. I started
Right.
reading it, and the thing that I like about it is it isn't that. It isn't anecdotes that, oh, here's a strange guy in a strange land and, there's some kooky mix up like a 70s bad TV show. No, it's like the grit of it would be just like if I was there telling my story, you tell in such a way that I really feel like I'm there experiencing the good, the bad, the in between. There's
Mm.
a real sense of your travel in that, and that's the part that I'm really digging and looking forward to reading the rest of it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I hope you do read the rest of it.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not sure what my book is. You set out to write a book and you have some ideas and then you set it free into the world and people they start judging. And but at this point, the book came out this year in the UK and in New Zealand and Australia, and it's possible to buy it online and have it shipped to anywhere you want, of course. And it will be out in the US in May, US and Canada, May 2026. But until then, you have to ship it across the ocean. But yeah, so at this point, I think the book is about ambition, it's about people, and it's about adventure. That's generally where I go. Oh, and I try to explain it
No,
as briefly as possible.
it's a very good explanation. The only reason I haven't finished is because I got it late. This interview came together very quickly, thanks to you. So I haven't been able to read the whole thing, but I'm definitely enjoying what I've read so far. So
Thank
when
you.
you've had the book in hand, how does that feel like, there's 10 years, well, 10 years of traveling, but more than that of your life really put into that book. How does that feel?
It's it's crazy. The book doesn't cover it doesn't cover the 10 years. It's to cover the 10 years, they would have to write 20 books maybe or and there's a lot there were some stories that my editor got in there and my editor is wiser than me when it comes to books and there were that killing your darlings kind of stuff where I had a few stories that I really wanted in the book and we cut them out. Really, really solid stories. So yeah, but it's fantastic to finally see it done. It's a really long process to produce a book and put it out into the world. I think only people who have done it truly understand how much goes into it. It's a surprising amount of work. And then it came out in what was that? Was that in April, maybe April this year, May, April, I
Yeah,
think.
earlier this year, yeah.
And and uh, and on the day, people started writing me, go like, "Yeah, I'm done with your book. When is the next one coming out?" I go like, I can't believe we spent all this time producing this book, and you chewed through it in less than a day. Fantastic, thank you. People, it's on audiobook as well, and people were binge audio booking it if that's a thing and writing me I think I'll listen to it one more time it's it's unbelievable so yeah no people have been very generous with praise and it makes me happy.
So what advice do you have for novice travelers or any traveler actually?
Well, get it done. Go out and stop. The dreaming is great, but you need to make it happen. And travel doesn't have to be, across the planet. It can be locally. I've been to in the U.S. I've been to more than 30 states, and I don't know how many Americans can say they've been to 30 states. There's so much to see within the U.S. and the people change and the way they speak change and the way they dress change and the music they listen to and how they do their cooking. Everything changes as you go across your great nation. So there's tons to see locally as well. But yeah, I would say be open-minded. You might have some preconceived ideas about certain things, but then travel is not for you if you're not willing to challenge your own beliefs. I for one, every time I met someone religious, no matter which religion they adhered to, if they invited me, to come with them. I was like, yes, let's go. So
Yeah.
I've been to synagogues and mosques and churches and temples and whatnot. And it's just good to go and see and make up your own mind there on the spot. When you're talking to people, my wife, our newborn daughter, and I, we made a trip in the U.S. Earlier this year, where we went through 18 states in the southern states and up sort of the Midwest as well in an RV. It was
Wow,
fantastic.
nice.
We did 6,000 miles and we get media here in Denmark, and a lot of the media when it comes to the US, it's not pretty. The stories that they cover is the school shootings, or it's the extremist politics of both Democrats and Republicans, and it's a lot of tough issues. And we went to the U.S., and nobody was flaunting their weapons in our faces, and nobody was talking politics. And everybody was just welcoming and curious about where we came from and happy to invite us for a meal. And it's such a tremendously beautiful country that has it all. It's far more in nature than what TV sitcoms gives away. Most of the television and productions, it's in cities and so on. But it's forests and lakes and rivers and coastlines and deserts and farmland. And we had a fantastic time. And it's so good to get out there when, media tries. I don't know if it's on purpose, but media certainly covers a lot of the negative stuff,
Yeah.
and you get it day in and day out, and it starts to, it starts to grow
Yeah.
inside you. You start to believe that the world is a horrible place, or maybe that it's on fire. It's good to get out there, and yeah, so stay open-minded. If you're going to a foreign country where they speak a different language, then I would say try to learn two or three words to begin with, like hello, thank you, sorry, something useful, and use it every chance you have. People really like and respond really well to when you try to speak their language, because it shows you're trying, right?
Sure.
And yeah, I mean, don't be afraid of speaking to people. That's, countries, what are countries? Countries are mountains and sticks and stones and this kind of stuff. Countries are truly people. It's the people that live inside the countries that make the countries colorful and interesting, for the most part. And you need to talk to them. You need to find a way to communicate with them. And if you can't speak the language, then use gestures. Something that I had a good time doing in a lot of countries was I put my hands together, and I did like this, I guess. I did this, and it was like a magic trick for children, and children would come over and try to put down, and you make this connection. So yeah, try to connect with people wherever you can.
Great advice. Great advice. Before I let you go, and really, I appreciate your time. I appreciate all your insight. I love the story. Tell everybody where they can find out more information about you, how they can purchase your book.
Well, my name is Thor Pedersen, and that's Peterson with a D and a EN at the end. And you can go and find me online, find my website, and my website will get you to my TED Talk, it'll get you to my book and where you can buy my book. The social media that I ran across the entire project has the project name, and the project name was Once Upon a Saga. So I'm online as Once Upon a Saga, pretty much wherever you look. And yeah, and I guess if you go online and you do an internet search for Thor traveled every country without flying, then something will pop up.
That's how I got you. Actually, I saw you in a list of great travel books from 2025. And as soon as
Wow.
I saw that and saw your story, I said, I've got to interview this guy. And thank you. It came together so quickly. You're very, very appreciated. I very much appreciate your time. And
Thank
thanks for
you.
everything you do for the travel industry.
Well,
And
thank you. It's very kind of you. I enjoyed it very much.
with that, I wish you a good day. And if that second book comes out, or if you plan another big trip like that, feel free to contact me and we'll do an update.
Oh, you know what I'm working on is getting over to your beautiful country and doing a speaking tour at some point. And if I come up to Chicago, then I'd be happy to shake your hand.
I was going to say, if you're ever in Chicago, let me know, and I'd love to buy you lunch, at least meet you, something like that.
Sounds good. It's a
Thor,
deal.
thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.